welcome to the AIHEC Health Webinar Series. We really appreciate you being here with us today. We have a great presenter here with us today. So we're really excited to introduce to you today Cinnamon Kills First. Cinnamon Kills First is a word warrior from the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in Montana. With a res education from home and 2 Ivy League degrees, she is a cross-cultural communicator who helps bridge the gap between Indian country and the rest of the world. As a public speaker, Cinnamon weaves hard truths together with somatic literacy to create reckoning in the bodies of her audiences in order to make way for healing. As co-creator of Breaths Together for a Change, Cinnamon helped successfully pilot a year-long Indigenous-Centric, anti-racist, metasomatic, and meditation-based healing program that was specifically designed to decolonize the bodies of 30 white volunteers. The BTC model targets faulty alarms in the nervous system and treats racism as a disease in the body. Cinnamon's team submitted a science poster to the 2021 International Meditation Festival at Dongkuk University in Seoul, Korea, and earned second place. Cinnamon received her BA and MALS from Dartmouth College and her MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop. She's produced 3 documentary films, has 3 children's books published with Scholastic, and has a 4-book series publishing in 2025 with Mayo Clinic Press. Cinnamon is currently creating Oníya, Wicózani, and she will say it 1,000 times better, an Indigenous-Centric meditation-based healing modality. Cinnamon will spend her life healing from and fighting against white supremacy, as many of her matriarch and warrior ancestors have done before her. So a huge thank you and welcome to Cinnamon Kills First.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and share screen now and jump into my presentation. We're going to play from start. So, as mentioned, I helped co-create Breaths Together for a Change, which is an Indigenous-centric meditation-based healing modality. I come at this work from my Master's of Arts in Liberal Studies. I also have a Master's of Fine Arts in English. Specifically, I studied fiction, but I always wanted to use my writing as a tool for healing. And after studying creative writing formally, I very much wanted to understand how healing works and how I can weave healing and writing together to create something to help our people. And that's kind of what I'm here to share with you today. So this is what we call the dream team. This is me with my mentor, Tommy Lee Woon, and Oníya Gafar. Oníya is Afro-Indigenous. Tommy is a Chinese elder. I'm at Northern Cheyenne, and I have connections to Oglala Lakota community. My husband's Lakota. So together, under Tommy's lead, we created Breaths Together for a Change. This was us pre-pandemic. We were invited to the Dartmouth Institute or the Dartmouth Medical School to share our work. Tommy is a counselor by training and is a somatic experiencing practitioner. So he's the one who really has like the fundamentals of the healing modality. Again, I'm the creative writer, kind of the artistic lead, and then Oníya came at this from her master's background, which was more in biophysiology and holistic health research. So between his leadership with healing, her research background, and my writing background, we created this healing modality. When talking about healing, Tommy likes to position this work in terms of upstream and downstream work. And when we look at specifically the healthcare system in regards to like Indigenous communities, our people are always kind of down here drowning, facing traumas. The emergency room is most highly visited. And I think in this country in general, these problems are looked at as like people of color problems or reservation problems. And so Tommy's entire work shifts the focus, not on the victim, it's not on us who are continuing to endure colonial invasion and all the effects of that, but shifts the perspective upstream to see why are our communities struggling the way they are, which shifts the focus from us as Indigenous people to white supremacy culture, and brings a focus to the fact that there's systems in place that are creating and perpetuating these traumas for us in our communities. So we started with a version of this healing program that looked upstream at white bodies and how racism lived in those bodies. We created a healing oppression theory, which has two parts. We believe in order to heal trauma, you have to first stop perpetration. And so we can't ask Indigenous people to heal from the invasion and the genocide that occurred when, our lands are still being stolen, our waters are still being contaminated and taken away from us. So Tommy recognizes himself as a Chinese uninvited guest. He works on behalf of his ancestors who came here uninvited, and really puts his efforts towards changing white supremacy in bodies so that the perpetration can end, so that our communities can heal. So I worked alongside him again to create Breasts Together for a Change. It's an Indigenous-centric model for creating a world of feeling, seeing, and treating no one as a stranger. So really, our work views racial bias, bigotry, and hate as a historical illness that requires medical treatment. And we hope our work inspires more healthcare efforts for eliminating racial bias, bigotry, and hate. And I think even within the last few years, CDC declared racism as like a public health crisis, public health issue. So that's where our work is rooted. And from my experience working with Tommy on white bodies, I have created a different version, which that's what I'm here to share with you about. Breasts Together for a Change. We want to reach the entire world. So the first branch targets white bodies. I'm leading the creation of a different branch of it that is for Indigenous bodies. Tommy's Asian. He's actually working with mentors and partners in Asia right now to work on Asian historical trauma. And then eventually we want to reach Black bodies as well. And we do this all through somatic literacy. So body awareness, or what in the somatic trauma healing world they call interoception. So interoception is the way your body sends you messages from the inside out. So it's easy to get caught up talking about racism and these ideas as just intellectual things or just concepts, but really all of this is occurring in bodies. So we're shifting the focus from like a mental cognitive state into a real felt sense of awareness in your body. Who are you comfortable around? Who are you uncomfortable around, and why? So as an example for exploring the ecology of implicit bias in our bodies right now, because we all have implicit bias, we just might not be aware to the degree that our bodies carry it. But just as like a little kind of test for you to sense your own body, or for you to just feel or tap into your interoception right now, I'm going to lead you through a series of pictures of myself. And I just want you to notice how each picture lands in your body, or how your body responds to that picture. So again, this is just a small practice of body awareness, allowing you to kind of just sense your own somatic literacy. What is your own body awareness? So this would be similar to, going to the eye doctor and they say, do you like 1 or 2 better, 2 or 3, right? So just like a little comparative. So if I were to introduce myself like this and say, my name is Cinnamon Kills First. I exist, resist, indigenize, and decolonize. If this were the image that I use to present myself, just notice how you relate to that image or how it lands with you. Compared to this image, if I say, I'm here to exist, resist, indigenize, and decolonize using this image, notice if you like 1 or 2 better as far as relatability or the connection that you feel in your body. Or 3, a picture of me, cleaning sage, preparing for ceremony at home, which feels better to you as far as how you receive me. 2 or 3. So again, your body's constantly sending you signals that our brains often aren't aware of. It's subconscious coming through the body. And then again, the 4th picture, which is the most recent picture, 3 or 4. Just notice what changes, subtle changes, if any, come to your body when you notice the different pictures. So that's what we work with, totally through body signals. It's happening quick, it's happening below the cognitive level. So as we all know, settler colonialism is a distinct type of colonialism that functions through replacing indigenous populations with an invasive settler society. And we need to recognize that that society has still invaded and continues this invasion. So the perpetration of these traumas is ongoing. And that's what we're really working to address with this. The hierarchy structure comes from colonization. It's more shaped like a triangle versus the circular systems our indigenous ways of being operated in. So we're trying to create an entire shift from the body up that can help change society. The systems that existed here first were love-based, abundance model. We had a lot of acceptance here. Our wealth was looked at as what you gave away. Our success is ours. We're very connected to nature and the cosmos. And we believe that when you empower the circle empowers you. So we saw how we were all related and we were all connected. But this invasive society that's here, which is in every classroom, every doctor's appointment you go to, there's some hierarchy, some position of authority person who's literally standing above you sometimes. And so as people of color, our nervous system are interpreting even that posturing, even someone standing in front of you or above you, that makes us feel small or might make us shrink. And this is the way their systems are designed. And we operate in these systems every day, which is not as healthy as how we used to live. Their structures that we operate in are fear-based. They're very competitive. Success is seen as individual success, and it's disconnected from the natural world. So I see this form of functioning as an illness model. It makes us believe there's only room for one person at the top of this hierarchy, which causes us to like race and step on and crawl over others. And coming from the reservation in Lamar, Montana, straight to Dartmouth College, which was this very high competitive academic environment, I felt this very strongly in my body. I felt students who would like bark over one another to try to speak in class, whereas I came from a community that taught me we can tell how smart you are by how well you listen. So I didn't function well there. I had to learn how to function in that society. But what we want to do with this healing modality is help us shift out of that ecosystem and more back into the healthy, natural ecosystem. In a colonized world, individuals who make contributions are valued, and people fight to get credit, especially in academia. But in the indigenous system, we see every individual as having value and contributing to our collective health with this understanding that me is we. That's what we want to get back to. So I used the fundamentals of Breath Together for a Change. I used the same somatic awareness tools, the same concept of proposing imagery to an audience to create Oníya, Wicózani. So first we used meditations that worked on white bodies. And from all my teachings and learnings from Tommy, I created Oníya, Wicózani. Oníya in Lakota means breath, and Wicózani means health. So just as Mini Wichoni means water is life, trying to create a movement here that is equivalent to water is life, but where we recognize that breath is health. And again, I'm a creative writer by training. I'm not a healthcare physician, but I was in ceremony one time, and it was my writing program was 2 years. My master's of fine arts was 2 years. So it was the summer in between my first year and second year. And I was praying specifically for Tommy and his health issues. And while I was praying for him, I got the message really clearly from Creator that just told me, like, you need to go learn as much as you can, as fast as you can from Tommy. Because in the writing world, everyone was on this track to be the New York Times bestselling, fiction author. And although I could write stories about res life that were fictionalized, I really wanted to use my writing in a way that could not just share stories with people, but actually move the reader or the listener through an experience that touches their body, that helps energy move through their own body to actually achieve healing for themselves. No matter how healing it felt for me to write my story, at the end of the day, I wanted Indian country or my reader to be healed alongside me. And so from that ceremony on, I just told Tommy, like, I'm here. Creator told me I'm here to help you in any way that I can. So I finished my program, and the next year I just told myself, like, I'm yours. Whatever you need me to do, research, support. So we started working together every week. And that was about 5 years ago now. So what he taught me is the importance of sensations versus moods. We talk in terms of moods, but often they're subjective. If somebody says, "Oh, I'm feeling content today," one person's content might not be the same as the next person's content. So this, on the right side of the screen, sensation map is heat versus cold. There was a study done with 200 people where they were had like sensors and were told to self-identify where they felt hot or cold after being moved through different emotional states. And so what's important to know is that every emotion has a physiological reaction. There's something happening in the body every time you move to a different emotion. So we really operate in this somatic world, this body-based world, instead of kind of the more subjective language of moods. But to put this kind of in a applicable sense or a real life image, I want us to remember how our people were free. They were so healthy. We had lifeways designed that help energy move through our bodies, through our hearts, not just one-on-one, which is like the primary therapist healing model in white America today, but we healed together as a collective body. There was so much flow that was happening in the individual body and in the collective body. So our people, again, had lifeways designed to keep us strong and to keep us healthy. So we can kind of use this mood chart to see what mood do we see with our ancestors in this image. And to me, I can like hear sounds, I can feel that ground, I can almost smell what's happening there. Lot of energy, and I assume also a lot of pleasure. So we can see us up in this yellow quadrant, feeling optimistic, excited, ecstatic. Of course, we weren't using English language at that time, so even hard to, pinpoint what our ancestors might say here. But when you compare that to sensations, I see like a lot of energy and movement. So I would imagine they're here in this happiness, from head to toe. Our ancestors are feeling the song, they're feeling one another. Or love, right? Where this love is kind of lit up too in the body. But then, and this kind of ties to Marcia Small's presentation last time about the boarding school and how she talked about how some people maybe might not know their history or their family's history with the boarding schools, but just across the board, because 8 out of 10 Indigenous children were taken from their families and put into these schools, we can safely say we're all impacted by this. And I believe this is really where the energy stopped. This is where we became stiff and silent. If those kids spoke out, they would be hit. And so this is where in the nervous system, in the body, we started to override natural processes that were necessary for health. But we were put in this system that didn't allow us anymore to have that energy move through our bodies. And so this impacted us greatly. When we look at, the mood check, we can see low energy and of course low pleasure. So we're just really hanging out in that kind of despair blue quadrant. And again, knowing this happened all across Indian country. When we think of the sensations, I don't imagine there's a lot of warmth or a lot of movement. Maybe kind of in this blue, depressed state. The children were instructed even to like hold their fingers together. And so when you're confining energy in a body like that, it has an impact, not only on these children in the schools, but on us as their descendants. So we know epigenetically that a grandmother, can carry a mom. And I say me here because my mom went through boarding school and my grandmother was also put through boarding school. So we think of the adrenaline and cortisol that is released in the body, in the blood, that helps shape the nervous system of a woman who's carrying, and knowing that a grandma also carries the egg, right? Like I was in my grandma when she was going through her life and her adolescence. So whatever my grandma experienced had an impact on my mom and on me. So we can think about this too in terms of our dad being carried inside his grandma. So this history isn't too far away from us. And again, it happened to boys and girls, non-binary people, split into these two categories for generations. And even before these schools, we can think of like the slaughter that had happened, like with my tribe, like across the plains. My tribe ran from soldiers from Oklahoma back to Montana. So in the nervous system, that's flight energy, right? There's either fight or flight energy happening. And then imprisonment on the res, being locked into these boundaries. There's that high activation of energy in the body and then stuckness. So what happens to that energy? We think about our grandma being inside our great-grandma, inside our great-great-grandma, the same on our paternal side with our grandpas. So just knowing that our nervous systems are impacted today by all of this history, and not just to feel doomed by that, but we also want to like flip the coin and say, whatever healing work we can do in this body today is going to help my child and their child. So really realizing that we're this turning point for Indian country and for the health of our physical bodies, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies as well. But what we're here to look at is how trauma hides alarms in our nervous systems. And we want to invite people just to be curious, are your body alarms mild, moderate, or intense? Faulty alarms create and perpetuate oppression. So, like I said, the energy being stuck from reservation times, in the creation of reservation times all the way to today, can cause our bodies to have anxiety, depression, fear, exhaustion, or just overall feeling shut down. So we need to move that energy out. And that's what our healing modality allows for. I've created recordings that we sit and listen to that helps that energy move physically out of the body. So we use the medicine wheel as a model in this healing modality. And we teach about natural forms of health and healing, and then all the coping mechanisms that get in the way of that. So starting in the heart quadrant, maybe if someone feels unloved or like they don't have enough attention, maybe they didn't get enough attention as a child and now they're an adult, they might have a pattern of overcommitting to organizations, to work, working so hard, because that pull of the commitment is kind of filling the hole in their heart. It makes them feel loved. It makes them feel like they're getting the attention that they need. If someone's spirit is sick, right, I think they turn to addiction, allowing drugs and other substances into their body, which in my understanding pushes your spirit out. Your spirit is not safe in the body because these other substances are in there. Our mind also prevents us from healing sometimes. If we are in a situation that is not good or not healthy for us, maybe we're hurt by someone, we can tend to just like rationalize their behavior, kind of give them excuses without feeling what we need to feel. So the somatic healing is really coming from this body quadrant. And in order to have balance and health, we promote natural expressions that the body does to release so that we can feel healthy again. And what those things are crying, if you're hurt. Many people just stop themselves, or people say, I don't want to start crying because I think I'll never stop. So we prevent our own bodies from healing themselves naturally. Raging, we're in a society that tells us we can't be mad. But there are ways to allow rage to exit your body without harming other people. And that's what we try to teach here. Laughing, as we know, is medicine. Laughing kind of teeters on the edge of crying, as we know. So again, laughter is a somatic release. It's helping your body move that energy. When the feelings feel too big, our bodies can go numb, and it's okay to be numb. But I think some people stay stuck there. Shaking and trembling is a natural response to discharge fear, but we live in a society that people don't just shake, and people aren't just encouraged to shake. But if we think back to like our dances, a lot of that movement is reenacting shaking that helps our body to heal naturally. So freeze, collapse, rest, digest, and recover. We really want to teach people how to have that big emotional release, but how to support their body immediately afterwards by feeding themselves, by having rest, and to recover. And so I have been looking a lot at our ancestors' ceremonies that they designed for us. There's always big feeds. During Sundance, if there's, piercing or dancing happening, that is these healing modalities being embedded in this structure that our people carried out and passed down to us. We always do a big feed, and it's rest. We do it together. And so what I'm trying to do with Oníya Wicózani is use the same tactics our ancestors used for health and healing, but put it in a new form, a new modality that can live on the internet and that other people can access. But it's working in the body in the same way. So again, trauma hides alarms in you. We have to face them, feel them, and release it. So that's what we mean, getting the body involved in order to heal. So we like to ask people, what is your capacity to feel? Do you allow yourself to feel, or do you just push it away, put it in a box? How strong is your desire to heal? What prevents you from releasing emotionally? Or what conditions allow for expression? Like, do you feel more comfortable crying in the shower? Can you give your body that safety and that space to do that? What is your emotional profile? So we can be constantly moving, activated, anxious, or overcommitted, like I mentioned before. In the somatic healing world, we would call that overcoupled. Our nervous system is overcoupled. Or maybe you are on the other end of the spectrum where you feel low, depressed, numbed out, or dissociated. Then we would say your nervous system and your body is undercoupled. Or some people experience combination of the both, up and overcommitted until you're just burnt out and flat. And that used to be my orientation before I started working with Tommy. And my mom would tell me all the time, like, you're going and going and going, you're going to get sick. And I would just run myself straight into a wall and then fall. So I needed to learn how to bring balance to my body. And so through my work with Tommy, I have learned that for myself and became super passionate about, like, how can I teach other Indigenous people this in a structured way that is beautiful and poetic, coming from my creative writing background. So we're going to shift here into allowing you to experience one of the ceremonies. I don't call them meditations because they're more involved than that. I think meditations just have you like focus on your mind and focus on your body. But what I've created using the medicine wheel model, we really want to also pull your heart into it and have your spirit connected to this as well. So we're not just meditating. What I call them is ceremonies, because to me, they're like mini ceremonies you can do with and for yourself. So again, how did our ancestors heal? How can I take those same tactics and create something new and modern for us to use for ourselves? With just one sit or just one listen, you might not notice changes right away. It really comes with practice, and we want to watch for changes over time. And we want our body to release and to welcome peace. So I've structured it like our ceremonies. There's 4 rounds. Sweat has 4 rounds. Sundance has 4 days. The ceremonies have 4 rounds. 2 of them are orienting and replenishing, but the 3rd round, it's activating. It's asking you to think of something hard, asking you to think of something stressful. Because what we want is not to just run away and avoid that energy. We want to sit in it and let it come out. Let us just tap into those feelings within the safety of this ceremony. And by the end, I bring the body back to peace. So we'll be able to switch into an embodied practice where I get to offer that to you here in a moment. But you'll also have access to the link afterwards. I'm happy to share that. So again, at the end of the day, we are all just energy and matter, and we want that energy to move through you so that ultimately we as Indigenous people can be liberated from that trapped energy that we might have inherited to feel free. And when we feel free, we're going to be able to widen the path and create new systems for our babies and for their babies. And that's what we're here to do. So that's the didactic portion that kind of teaches you about what we're doing. And then now I'm happy to just go into the share of the listen. So this is just a 15-minute sample of the ceremonies. And Oníya Wicózani is a 12 to 13 month or 12-month or 13 moon experience. And there's one for each month or one for each moon that grows on. It's like comprehensive. So one ceremony builds on the next throughout an entire year for the healing modality program. But this again is just a 15-minute sample that I'm happy to share with you. And then after this, I'm happy to talk or take any questions that you might have. So get comfortable and enjoy this little experience.
Hello, and welcome to this ceremony. This breath-focused exercise will lead you through 4 rounds of reflection. Notice what you feel right now in your body as you enter this ceremony. On the count of 3, take a deep breath into the places you feel tension. 1, 2, 3. For round 1, I'm going to invite you to think of a place in nature where you feel most at home. Think of a peaceful, nurturing part of the landscape or land that makes you feel grounded. Where is this place? Is there a smell there? When you look around, what do you see? Who might be with you in this place? Take a moment to be resourced by this place in nature. Take a deep breath to grow any feelings of connection or oneness you notice in your body right now. For round 2, I'll invite you to bring to mind a moment in recent memory where you felt like you were your most authentic self. Try to bring to mind a memory where in your body you felt completely free. What were you doing in this memory? How does it feel to look upon yourself in this memory, enjoying life? How do you feel in your body now? Enjoy this moment. For round 3, I'm going to invite you to think of a recent hurdle, obstacle, or minor stressor that you're facing in school, at work, or in your research. How does this hurdle, obstacle, or minor stressor make your body feel right now when you think of it? Where in your body do you notice energy gathering or your muscles holding tension? Honor every feeling. We are forced to live and work in colonized societies that have been built upon our land. These systems bring hurdles, obstacles, and stressors to our daily life. Bring your attention back to the body. On the count of 3, take a deep breath into the places you feel tension. 1, 2, 3. honor every feeling. And we're going to welcome a transition to round 4. I'm going to ask you again to imagine yourself studying, reading, writing, in lab, or doing research. But this time, as you imagine and see yourself in this image, I want you also to imagine your ancestors looking upon you. See yourself in one of your favorite study spaces or working environments, and imagine your ancestors present, looking upon you and supporting the work that you're doing, sending you love. In addition, I want to ask you to try to imagine your descendants also present, looking upon you and sending you love. Enjoy this moment. Take a deep breath with this image on 3. 1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath to grow any feelings of connection or oneness you notice in your body right now. Now, as we close, I'll invite you again to remember in round 1 the place in nature that nurtures you. From round 2, a moment in recent memory where you were your most authentic self. As we know, life will always bring its challenges. So in round 3, we sat with a minor stressor. In round 4, we bring together ancestors and descendants to celebrate our existence. I'll set a 2-minute timer for you to come back to your body, to adjust as you need to, and to write 6 words. These words can be 6 singular words, or a sentence, or 2 short sentences. Any 6 words that capture your experience today. 2 minutes of reflection and 6-word story writing. Begin. as our time comes to a close, I'd like to remind you that writing 6-word stories is helpful for you, and sharing them with others helps to build community. This ceremony was brought to you by Breath Together for a Change, Oníya Wicózani. This breathing will heal us.
Awesome. Well, I wrote in the chat, if you feel comfortable, I'd invite you to type any 6 words that might have come to you into the chat. Totally not necessary, but sharing the 6 words that came to me while I listened today were breathing, healing today, heals my baby. So yeah, at this time, I'd just love to open it up to discussion for the time that we have left. If anyone has comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you.
Cinnamon, thanks so much for your presentation and for your ceremony. I just wanted to invite anyone, you can feel free to take yourself off of mute, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can type any sort of questions or comments into chat.
Your presentation was amazing. I'm feeling so relaxed right now. Thank you. Great job. Awesome. The smell of pine trees. Breath, warmth, grounding, opening, distraction, fidget. Yes, all totally normal. Thanks for sharing. I think one of the ongoing effects of this process of colonization is that it does disconnect us from our own bodies. It disconnects us from nature. Makes us think so individualistic that we feel maybe disconnected from the past or the future. And so each ceremony in the program helps us to reconnect to those important things intentionally, like you experienced today. Just even that, an imagining of smelling the pine trees can, when you bring that image into your mind, it affects your body. It's actually shifting your nervous system out of a charge, out of fight or flight, into a more restful, peaceful state. And the more our body accesses that peace, the healthier we're going to live, the longer lives we'll have, because our ancestors used to live to be over 100 pretty regularly, not in the stress that impacts like our veins and our heart. So the more we sit and practice, even just this 15 minutes can impact your health.
Okay. Well, and again, feel free to, if something comes up in these last few minutes. Otherwise, Cinnamon, thank you so much. This was very interesting. And we appreciate your time and your talent. I do want to pop our QR code into the chat. Oh, it's not letting me copy it. Uh-oh. I think I'm going to, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop our QR code into the chat. If you are able to, at this time, go ahead and scan that with your phone, and you can go through and take that. It is pretty short. If questions do come up, feel free to reach out to myself, and I'll get them sent over to Cinnamon. And Cinnamon, if someone was interested in going through all of your ceremonies, is there, what would be the best way to go about getting those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now the Indigenous program is still being piloted and it's in production, so we're not quite ready yet. But I would say anyone who is interested should feel free to follow me on Instagram or send me an email. I also have a website, it's just cinnamonkillsfirst.com. You can be in touch that way. My Instagram is @cinnamonkillsfirst, and my email is spearkillsfirst@gmail.com. You can just express interest, and then we can build a relationship between now and when the program is more public. The piloting right now is helping us tweak language and identify the optimal length of each ceremony. I work very closely still with the somatic trauma therapist, Tommy Woon, to make sure that each ceremony is effective. So my goal after this pilot finishes, well, I'm about to have a baby, but after the baby comes, what I wanted, my first project when I pick work back up again a few months from now is going to be, I want to write an entire book about each ceremony and what it's designed to do and why. Once that publishes, of course, I want this program to be more public and accessible. Yeah, but anybody interested right now, I would just encourage you to make contact with me and we can stay in touch until we get to that point.
Cinnamon, thank you again. We just really appreciate your time, your talent, and for being a part of our AIHEC Health webinar series. We do have another presentation next week from Dr. Myra Parker on culturally grounded interventions. So look for information about that coming soon if you haven't seen it already. And we will see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cinnamon.
Yes, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.